Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, just when you thought it was safe to relax, we've got another drive-by cuting. Every single morning. Let's move on to 3221, where we last left you. And Anon posts this picture of these We the Pepe revolutionary frogs right there. And they look like they're about to get down with some boss style ambushing. Wish me luck, fags. This Anon has an interview with an intelligence agency tomorrow. Very nervous. Q comes on and says, good luck, Patriot. Autists should consider joining ABCs, being the Alphabet Agency's military intel programs if interested. Ability to decipher complex info strings is a valued asset. And as you know, I'm one of those intel code number kind of people. Yeah, here's my audition.
2 + 2 is 4. -1, that's 3. Quick maths. Everyday man's on the block. Quick maths.
I think it went pretty well. They said not to call them. They said they would call me. So looking forward to that. 3222, 39 minutes after the hour 3, responding to an Anon who says, Q, digging on MAGA Coalition. We talked about that yesterday. If you're not familiar with the MAGA Coalition, go check out my video from yesterday. Shows obvious fraud. Although also those associated are nonstop attacking and obviously coordinated. Why would a PAC attack us? This in itself shows it's fake. This PAC also engages known shills and frauds. Do we still dig? Many reported to the IRS. Q says some organizations do not have good intentions. Due diligence required. We highlighted this particular organization as one example, MAGAcoalition.com. And then we have a few links here. And like I said, we talked about this a little bit from yesterday. Being that we have so much Q, I just don't get time to dig into lots of numbers and things like that. I kind of hope to turn it over to some of you Anons who are better at that. But I did notice a few things here. Now, we're back on this opensecrets.org, which seems to be fairly legit. Not in love with their logo, but you get the idea. But there's a couple things I want to turn you on to. This MAGA coalition is located, first of all, out of southern Florida. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Which incidentally just had a transformer blow yesterday. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm sure it probably has nothing to do with the presidential executive order talking about EMP, electromagnetic pulses, but that is a completely different story. We're talking about Ginger McQueen. Ginger McQueen is the treasurer of this MAGA coalition, and she seems to be fairly young, but I noticed something in searching for her. I found her on YouTube, and although she doesn't have a ton of views on, she's made a few videos, but she comes out talking against, you guessed it, QAnon. Ginger McQueen, QAnon sessions and liars. And this is just one video. I'm not going to play it for you, but it's not real comprehensive, but her basically the idea in a nutshell that I kind of got from her is that she was coming across as pro-POTUS, but stating that Q was hurting the POTUS and would ultimately lead to his demise if it got too big. So it seems like she's in a bit of a panic. And it says back here, Ginger exposes the Q-LARP way back on April 19th, 2018. And the fact that comments are disabled kind of suggests to me that she's not hearing anything to the contrary. So that seemed pretty sketchy. You can go check her out on YouTube. She's got a few videos. So she is this treasurer. And there's a few things that I found pretty sketchy. And like I said, I'm not going to get way into the numbers here. But if we go to this list of donors right here, we can get a little bit of information as to who's supporting this. Now, I don't have time to go through all these groups. Here's the DAK Investment Group, Rutgers University, a few different businesses, LLCs, things like that. I'm sure there's probably a lot of information within these names. However, I want to point your attention to that we see a bunch of random ones from this mobile cause out of Calabasas. Now, just gives me a little bit of pause considering it's mobile cause. It seems like it would be relatively anonymous, but I think the point is that we have some anonymous donations here. That could come from anywhere. It could come from Pakistan. It could come from Iran. It could come from Russia. You know what I'm saying? So just something that perked my ears up was this mobile cause. And, you know, Q says due diligence, which means it's probably a little bit of a dig, and I'm going to leave it for some of the people who are a little bit more engaged with the numbers, but that's what I found. Now, the next link here talks again about this MAGA coalition. Here's a report of receipts and disbursements. So it seems like Q is alluding to the fact that there clearly was some knuckleheadedry going on. And here's the registration here to the MAGA coalition. This committee has not qualified as a multi-candidate committee. And then here is some of their breakdowns here. Now, the only thing that kind of struck me right off the bat was that it seems like all the contributions that have been taken in have also gone out. And of course, operating expenditures are, usually what they're going to spend most of their money on here. But if you look at these numbers, it looks like almost the exact amount that came in went out, or at least that's kind of what I grabbed from this. Now, I'm sure that I'm probably missing a lot of this because I'm not digging so deep, but it doesn't look quite right to me. It just doesn't look quite right. They took in all this money and these operating costs, pretty much just put them right back out of business. So there you go. Now, next link is more of this, more operating procedures. And once again, we see that it's registered to Ginger McQueen, committee designation unauthorized. Interesting. And you can see a little bit more there. So it looks like there's a ton of stuff to go through here. And if you want to get on into it, I will let you be with that. But then Q leaves us with this link. How do you report suspected tax fraud activity? So clearly Q is trying to make a point here, right? Let's go back to the Q post. Q says follow the money. Track donations versus expenses. Okay, well, that was kind of what I just mentioned, right? Most of the money that they took in went right back out. Where did it go? Admin, fundraising, strategy, and research, etc., etc. Expenses highly inflated. Probably. I would imagine so, right? I mean, they could never make this, payments of $75, right? Monthly installment payments made to names who can attract more donations. The wheel. And I think what Q is implying here is that some people like, the Ann Coulters of the world, right? She can be MAGA all you want as long as you're kicking down with some coin, right? That's how it works. Attracting attractable donations. That's the wheel going in and out of these PACs. This money is just going back and forth between the same people. How much donated money was actually spent promoting MAGA, pro-MAGA candidates indirectly versus internal costs or wheel costs? And that's where Q gives us the IRS link there, alluding to us directly that there is some fraud going on here. And it does. It looks very suspect. I don't know what these operating costs really were. I mean, I suppose your electric bill could be operating costs, but aren't you supposed to sort of itemize those things? If you kind of keep it nebulous, it could go anywhere, right? Could it be going to the Ann Coulters of the world? Now, Q kind of called out Sebastian Gorka yesterday, and although I've always been a fan of the information, who knows? He's clearly wrapped up with this MAGA coalition, and so is his wife, and Q is showing that there is some knuckleheadedry going on here. So, there's a few of them, and I would say the ones that are coming out against Q are probably showing their panic, because I don't really see the need otherwise. I am fine with people not digging Q or not following Q. But when you seem so hell-bent on taking Q down, it does suggest something very strange, doesn't it? Because we're not anti-Trump and we're not dangerous. And anybody who follows that knows very clearly that that's not the case. So there has to be some sort of discord there. And, from there on, I just let you guys decide for yourself who to follow. But when you offer better goods and services for free, like QAnon here on 8chan, there's no longer a need to donate, purchase, and or follow those who would use such platforms to enrich themselves, hence the attacks. Yeah, and there's a fine distinction there. And look, I know as a content creator, I'm always getting hit with people complaining about, patriots, if you will. And I think that there's a real distinction to make. There are some people who are doing this as if they were mercenaries. And there's some people that are just kind of trying to cover their own operating costs. As far as I'm concerned, my channel has always been free, and I get by on donations because this is an extremely long job every single day. However, there are some people that are simply just going to go ahead and follow whatever narrative goes accordingly, as long as those people are sourcing them some money. And I suppose if they're wanting you to check out their site and do this, and they feel really threatened by Q, and they don't feel like they're being empowered by QAnon, then there is some conflict of interest there, and they're going to talk against Q. And like I said just a minute ago, that seems to be the real case for me. Who's coming out against Q and why? It's fine to not believe this or not think it's true or not think it's possible. It's another thing to want to bring it down and be hell-bent about it. Those are the attacks that concern me. Logical thinking always wins. Attempt to divide the movement draws light to their true intentions. This is about the survival of our nation, our world, not funding scams. End of topic. Keep your eye on the ball. Sounds like Q is done talking about that too, and reminds us to keep your eye on the ball. Post 32:23, 49 minutes after the hour 3, we get this picture right here of Adam Schiff and his friend back in the day. And Adam's wearing overalls, but he's not a farmer. Looks like a street performer at Magic Mountain. And this is his friend. I believe this is Dave McMillan. This would have been in Adam Schiff's Big Brother days, and he was mentoring this guy, Dave McMillan, who I believe now is a playwright. And this is one of his more recent plays, and that appears to be a more recent picture of them together. Now, the Anon says, let your enemy dig their own grave. Every time Schiff talks, he turns Americans away, although charges against Schiff would be pretty badass. Q says, watch Hannity tonight. POTUS may have a few words on the subject. He indeed did have a few words on this subject. Now, before we move on to that, I want to point out here that this Adam Schiff has been related to this Little Kids Foundation, LIDDLE. And if you'd like to know a little bit more of that, I made a video back in February of last year entitled In Pursuit of Truth Presents 2 Minutes of Truth, Episode 2, A Little Truth. And this will give you a little bit of background into this Little Kids Foundation, which is a foundation essentially that does massage for kids and seniors. It's weird. It's really weird. And they operate out of Haiti and all sorts of crazy countries, all sorts of places, not just Haiti, but all over the place. But it's very, very creepy. And we all know that Adam Schiff has some really creepy connections to young men, right? And so do me a favor and check out this video, if you will, please, entitled In Pursuit of Truth Presents A Little Truth. But there you go. There's our creepy little Adam Schiff back in his Big Brother days. Now, Q says, watch Hannity tonight. And I didn't see him say anything direct or specifically about Adam Schiff, but he did say quite a few telling things, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But Q says POTUS may have a few words on the subject. Let's move on to 32:24. 20 minutes after the hour of 5, we get this Breitbart link right here. Q says maximum transparency. Panic, panic, panic in D.C. And it takes you to Breitbart. Exclusive. Devin Nunes sending criminal referral to DOJ over Spygate. Time to go on offense.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beat.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I said the other day. House Intelligence Committee ranking member Devin Nunes is planning to send a criminal referral next week to the Justice Department that will detail multiple referrals on a number of different crimes, including leaking classified information as part of his investigation into misconduct at the Justice Department and the FBI. Quote, as of now, it'll be one criminal referral, but with multiple referrals on a number of different crimes, he told Breitbart News on Wednesday in an exclusive interview. We will have some leaky McLeaky pants in there for sure. We knew this was a joke from the beginning, and I've said as much for a long time, basically from the time our report came out, which has been a year. But now the real work begins. It's good to not have that sitting out there, but we have to now go on offense and track down all these dirty cops and bad players, he said. In addition, Nunes plans to interview about 50 people, some who have never been called before Congress, who were involved or know about the pushing of the P dossier within various U.S. government agencies and its use to get a surveillance warrant on former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Nice. So this is pretty exciting stuff. Now let me go ahead and take you down here. He said it reaches all the way to the Obama White House, though it is not yet clear how involved former President Barack Obama was. Translation: yes, it's quite clear. Look, there's big problems that the public needs to know about. Maximum transparency is the best thing here. Wow, Q has said that quite a few times too. Nunes said he believes Barr will have to act on his criminal referral. There will be things in there that cannot be ignored. There will be crimes, so they will have to be dealt with, he told Breitbart News. He told Fox News on Tuesday he would target people who lied to Congress, perjury, and criminal conspiracy. As far as his Democrat colleagues who have not given up on the idea that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia, he said, referring to the mythical beast, these guys are chasing chupacabra. That really is what they're looking for. Unicorns, the Loch Ness Monster, they're interchangeable. Nunes said the question of whether his Democrat colleague, Representative Adam Schiff, should resign as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee should be directed to Democrat leadership. I'll let our leadership speak to that. My job is to work with whoever is there. At the end of the day, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi makes the decision. But I'll just say that I think more real journalists need to ask real questions to Team Chupacabra, he said. Q says maximum transparency. Panic in DC. Let's move on for now to 32:25, 22 minutes after the hour of 5. DOJ coordinating with UK regarding D-class of FISA. Think plane tracking. And Q is referring to this DOJ plane that was found flying over to the UK. This was a few days ago. It was actually last week. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a future post. So let's go ahead and move on to 32:26, 25 minutes after the hour of 5. We get this older post, and let me go ahead and blow it up here. This was from the 14th. Remember this important fact. Adam Schiff is part of the Gang of 8 intel, and of course, they're the ones that would be receiving some of the highest level of intel. It will become critical once Gang of 8 material is declassified. Logical Q. If Adam Schiff knew everything he's investigating and stating publicly to be knowingly false disinformation, why then would he take the course of actions ongoing? Did Adam Schiff purposely deceive the American public, thinking the Gang of 8 material plus other classified documentation would never reach the public domain? What insurance did they hang over POTUS's head in order to prevent action? A father's love for his children knows no bounds. So you may have remembered this post from last week. Remember, Adam Schiff coming out and saying all this, it kind of counters his own argument if you think about it. Because if Adam Schiff really had something damning on the president, then it would likely be part of a grand jury also, which means it would be classified information because it's an ongoing investigation, right? Which means he's actually countering himself by simply saying that he knows about this information to begin with. That wouldn't be possible. If this was logical and Adam Schiff really had something on the POTUS, he wouldn't be able to talk about it because it would be classified. Ongoing investigation, right? He's been leaking on purpose. And of course, we all knew Adam Schiff was a leaky McLeaky pants, right? We already knew that. So what insurance did they hang over the POTUS's head? Well, it was this basically this promise to try and indict his children, and that's exactly what they went for. And I imagine it may have factored into POTUS's timing of the D-class, because Q says here, a father's love for his children knows no bounds. Yeah, look, no father wants to see their children go through something, even if they know that the cause that they're standing for is just. And I'm sure the deep state knows that and want to play that game too. So it was just another insurance policy. Obviously, the whole Trump-Russia collusion investigation was a big insurance policy, but this was just another one just in case it came out, exonerating the president. And that's exactly what the case is. And now that Adam Schiff doesn't have that narrative to run to, he's kind of caught with his pants down. Let's move on. Post 32:27, 44 minutes after the hour of 6, we get this Twitter status right here, and it goes to Deplorable Dearest QAnon. Nice on you for the Q shout out there. Comey, when Trump fired me, I thought that's potentially obstruction of justice.
Notre jury.
Oh boy, former FBI Director James Comey said in an interview Wednesday that President Trump may have obstructed justice in his decision to fire him. Comey's remarks came via a clip from his NBC Nightly News interview, during which Lester Holt, who always brings the pain, brought the conversation back to early May 2017 when Comey testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. During that hearing, Comey spoke on a variety of topics, including the Hillary Clinton email investigation. But you declined to answer questions specifically about evidence of collusion at that point. A couple days later, you're fired, Holt said. A few days after that, I sit down with President Trump, he continued. He says, when I decided to just do it, talking about firing you, I said to myself, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia, it's just a made-up story. What did you think when you heard that? Comey replied, I thought that's potentially obstruction of justice, and I hope somebody is going to look at that. The ousted official went on to say that he didn't know what was in Trump's head at the time. But what the president appears to be saying is, I got rid of this guy to shut down an investigation that threatened me, Comey said. Trump fired Comey on May 9, 2017, telling him in a brief later that he could not effectively lead the Bureau. During the Wednesday interview, the pair also discussed Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report on the Russia investigation. Comey said he wasn't sure where the probe would ultimately wind up, considering he'd been terminated before his team finished the work, but he said he found positives in the way it was conducted. I think he was able to finish the work and establish both that the Russia thing wasn't a hoax, that the Russians interfered in an election in a huge way, and that's really important, Comey said. And then another piece of good news, the evidence didn't establish that any Americans conspired as part of that effort. Yeah, you'd think the whole country would be happy about that. That should be good news no matter what party you're associated with. Comey went on to insist that the probe was necessary, saying there was smoke, and enough smoke to justify investigating. All right, blah, blah, blah. Now, let's get to this part. Holt later asked Comey for his thoughts after playing a soundbite of Trump saying that the country can never let this happen to another president again, referring to the investigation. Comey replied by creating an altered version of the events with different parties. Close your eyes again. Let's do it. Let's close our eyes. Change the names. Let me make one up for you, Comey said. The Iranians. This is totally made up. The Iranians interfere in the election to help elect Barack Obama because they think they'll get a better nuclear deal from him. And during that election, an Obama aide meets with the Iranians and talks about the dirt they have that will help get Obama elected. And the FBI finds out about that. We should not investigate that? After continuing his reimagined version, Comey says the hypocrisy is revealed just by changing the names. Well, that doesn't sound right to me. He thought that was part of the plan. Endgame, obstruction of justice? No, they wanted to get him for treason. They wanted to get him for collusion. This is just James Comey backpedaling, hence why Rod Rowe drafted the recommendation letter to fire. Yeah, POTUS knew that Comey was out to get him, and that's precisely why Rod Rowe was put in there in the first place. Remember, this was supposed to be Andrew McCabe's gig. And then Rod Rowe steps in, and he appoints Mueller and writes this recommendation letter to fire Comey, which is exactly what POTUS did. The next link here takes you to Comey's Twitter, where he's staring up at the trees, all sorts of cryptic nature photos where Comey says so many questions. Yeah, I'll bet you got quite a few questions. Who has full control? Well, how about 1970s era Billy D. Williams? Might be just the POTUS. The POTUS has control. These people are stupid. Indictments coming. Well, they better be. Do it! Oh, no, some of us are extremely burned out. Post 3228, 45 minutes after the hour 6. An Anon post is flagged. They were talking on HN about who has full control, and I think the Anon is simply saying that Patriots are. Q confirms. Patriots are now in control, or translated into unhinged left speak, paradig. Let's move on to 3229, 46 minutes after the hour 6. An Anon post this from WikiLeaks the other day, and this was from the 21st of March. A rarely seen U.S. Department of Justice jet N996GA flew to London on Tuesday, and it's not been recorded as leaving. And there was a lot of talk online as to whether or not this involved the picking up of Julian Assange. Still a lot of people trying to figure out what's going on with Julian Assange. And then we see this post 3225, DOJ coordination with UK regarding declass of FISA. Think plane tracking. So remember that with this declass, if it all dumped out at once, it was going to expose a ton of things. Still is. And that's going to put the UK in a panic too, because quite a few of their MI6 agents were involved. And this likely goes to the top over there too. So this needs to be done delicately. Otherwise, we could enter ourselves into an unintended world war, right? So it seems to me that the UK is now playing ball, helping to declass these bacony cheesy bites one thing at a time, and it likely involves this trip with this DOJ plane. Q seems to think it gives some credence because it's on these posts. Now, this comes from an Anon here. Think plane tracking. So is the DOJ plane in the UK picking up another passenger besides the CP King? Now keep in mind, this is not a Q reference here. This is an Anon. I'm assuming they're talking about the chess player king being Julian Assange. Christopher Steele is key to the dossier and basis for the FISA and would probably have an indictment. Yes, likely. Is he getting shipped over here to the US? Are we going to be seeing him in front of the Senate? UK is helping to declass FISA. And Q says the reference is correct. Details classified 1 through 99. And we've seen this classified 1 through 99. We're not really sure if it's talking about 1 through 99 documents. Could be 1 through 99 names, 1 through 99 pages. Not really sure. But I think Q is saying that we're on the right track here, but probably the details as to who was actually on the plane is still to be classified. So it could very well be our Julian Assange, and it could very well be our Christopher Steele, which to me I would think would be a little bit more likely. But either way, Q is saying that the reference is correct. It did indeed have something to do with this flight here. Now, I do want to point out real quick here that this flight does appear to have returned here on the March 23rd, so maybe a day and a half gone, something like that. But we do have record of it coming back to Washington, D.C. All right, kids, we've still got some more Q posts. Q is posting like he's got no chill, and we've got a lot more to do, so I'm going to leave you with this for now. I will be coming back shortly with more, but I do have to recognize some of my humanity and do something other than work nonstop, so I'm going to leave this for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. I really appreciate it, especially in this time where the work is nonstop. If you are new to my channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that from time to time you will get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed because social media doesn't like you. I like you. Social media doesn't like you. I like you, though. Do you like me? Click yes or no. Yep. All my alternate links are down below. My Gab. Guys, you don't need to send me screenshots of the Gab. I know my Gab page is still up. I can't access it. It doesn't matter if anybody else can. I can't. So I'm not posting on Gab right now. It looks like they've kicked me off. Sorry about that. There's nothing I can do. My BitChute is still working from time to time. It's just a little bit slow, but my link is down below. I told you about Brighteon.com yesterday. It looks like they will be up hopefully soon again, but they're dealing with some battles of their own. And my Twitter link is also down below, which is right here at IPOT 1776. That's at IPOT 1776. And if you've got information to share, please email me. Please do not DM me on Twitter. Once again, please do not DM me on Twitter. Please email me if you've got information to share. That's where I check for things, and my email is down below also. And if you'd like to support this channel, my Patreon is linked down below. All those links are down below. All right, kids, and until next time, this is Sir Patrick. Stay safe.